Okay, it's game time. Hasta luego.
What up, it's Shankster94, and welcome to my HD weapon review of Resident Evil Revelations. Now, if you're wondering, I did have a weapon review of this game already on the 3DS version, but since it got ported to consoles, I felt obligated to update the review to this version. And since I'm on the Xbox 360, I can record in full 1080p high definition. Now, only my subscribers may know this, but before this video, I was in what I dubbed my remaking era, which was an approximate 10-month time period devoted to remaking several melee move and weapon reviews and better video quality, as well as improving the review itself. Now, this video is also a remake, but it's not entirely because I could give you better quality. I'm updating from the 3DS to console, so I like to regard it as an update rather than a remake. So I just wanted to tell you about that to clear it up. But anyway, I am ready to once more review the weapons of Resident Evil Revelations, so let's get started. Alright, so this review is going to go similarly to the 3DS version. I'm going to review all the weapons with both a male and a female. I'm going to test all the weapons with Jill Valentine first in campaign mode, and then I will test the weapons with a male in raid mode. Speaking of raid mode, the weapons in raid mode you earn as you level up, and the weapons themselves have levels, between 1 and 50, just like your character can go from 1 to 50. Now the higher the level, the higher the statistics, like the damage, the fire rate, and the capacity. But since I'm just testing it out with a different gender, it's not critical how fast it is or how powerful it is. I'm not going to test the weapons on enemies in raid mode. I'm only going to do that in campaign mode, otherwise you won't have an accurate reading of the damage. So, when I get to the firearms, I'm going to do it on this screen, because this gives you the best and biggest picture of each firearm. The weapons beforehand, which I'm reviewing in this part, they're not featured in this screen. They are featured in this screen. Alright, so now you know how the weapon review is going to go down, but I just want to say something before I get started. In the last few weapon reviews I made, I would include cutscenes of that weapon after I was done reviewing them. In this game, though, there's no movie theater or cutscene, so I can't easily access the cutscenes in this game. And besides, I played through this game a few times, and I really don't think there's a lot of cutscenes where a weapon is actually being fired. And it's probably just a couple handguns anyway, so it's really not worth doing that. But I will still do something kind of interesting at the end of the... I'll go into more detail about it when I show you. But anyway, I have rambled on way too long, like I always do, and that's why my videos get disliked sometimes, because people don't have enough patience. So, let's get on with Resident Evil Revelations HD weapon review. Alright, so I'm gonna start with the knives. Just like Resident Evil 4 and 5, the knife is now a permanent part of your inventory. You can't get rid of it. And there's a few characters in this game who have a different knife or a completely different kind of weapon. By the way, the knife isn't used by aiming it first and then using it. You automatically do a knife, stab, or slash by just pressing one button. Alright, so let's test the knife out. Alright, the physical gameplay of Revelations is basically the same as Resident Evil 5. That being said, Jill still has her shanking motion with her knife, and Chris still has that regular slashing motion, of course. Now, once again, I don't know if the damage is different between the knife depending on who uses it. Jill's mostly the only character you can use in campaign, and it's the only character I have a game save of anyway. I'm just gonna test the knife on an enemy with her and her only. So let's test the knife on the standard ooze. Alright, so 15 slashes, or shanks, or stabs from the knife to take down a tricorn ooze. They have the same damage rate as a standard ooze, so it's okay. Now, there's one problem I'm having with this weapon review, and that's this guy right here. I can't remove his weapon, nor tell him to stay behind, like in Resident Evil 5 or 6. He keeps shooting the ooze as I'm trying to do my review, and he's fucking up my damage rates. Now, when he hits the ooze with his handgun, it's barely doing damage, but it is still doing damage. Because one time I was testing the knife, and he shot the guy dead before I got the final slash in, so yeah, it is doing some damage. So I'm gonna have to give you guys ranges in this game. And then again, you could always use my formula. Add or subtract 5 from the initial number of hits it took me to defeat that enemy. But anyway, 15 slashes, so it could probably take between 10 and 20 slashes throughout the entire game with the knife. And like I said, I don't know if it's different if you're using a different character who does a slashing animation rather than Jill's shanking animation. Alright, that is it for the knife. Alright, now for the next melee weapon. Now, this is Parker Luciani, and when he's in this outfit, he doesn't have a knife. He has an axe, and it does a lot more damage than the knife. So let's test his axe out. Alright, so obviously being a much bigger melee weapon than the knife, it's a little slower when slashing it. It's obviously going to be a lot more powerful than the knife. Let's test the axe out on an ooze. Alright, so I am testing the axe in raid mode. And I did a pre-test before this to see if this would work. And I think it will go just fine because since the axe isn't upgradable, you can't level up on it regularly. It depends on the level of your character. So I put my character at level 1 and I'm facing off against a level 1 enemy. So this should be the same as campaign. However, in raid mode, Parker has hard hitter status, which increases his melee damage by 200%, so this most likely won't be the same result as if I did it in campaign mode. Unfortunately, I didn't make any saves where I was Parker with his axe in campaign mode, so this is the only way I could do it. Alright, let's test the axe out on an enemy. Alright, so 5 hits with the axe in raid mode to take down an ooze. So it will most likely take between 5 to 10 hits with the axe to take down a standard ooze in campaign mode. Alright, that is it for Parker's axe. Alright, now for the next melee weapon. This is Keith Lumley. And instead of a knife or an axe, he has 2 blades. So he does like a double slash attack. So let's see it. Alright, so dual wielding action will probably decrease the time it will take to defeat an enemy with these blades. Keith's blades, I'm going to test in raid mode as well. In this outfit, he has CC Mastery 2, which increases his melee damage by 145%. Unfortunately, in campaign, there are no instances where Keith has an ooze as an enemy. The only enemies in Keith's part of the game are Fenrir dogs, hunters, and farfarellos, which are those invisible hunters. So I wouldn't be able to do a good test anyway. Alright, enough of that. Test Keith's blades out on an ooze in raid mode. Level 1, level 1. Alright, so 10 slashes with the blades, 5 triggers to take down a standard ooze in raid mode when you're at the same level. So yeah, these blades are pretty good. They get the job done much faster than the axe or the knife because you're doing double hits. So if you were to test it in campaign, it would probably take between 10 and 15. That's probably the range for all melee weapons, to be honest, in campaign. Alright, that is it for Keith's knives. Alright, when you wield Keith's third outfit, which I believe you earn by getting to level 50 in raid mode, instead of 2 blades, he has 2 swords. Now, I don't know if they'll do different damage from the blades, but I am willing to find out. But first, let's test them out. Alright, so he does a slightly faster slashing animation with these swords than the blades. He's a hard hitter in this outfit, so these should take less slashes than the blades. Let's find out. Now, I honestly don't know if these would do any different damage if I were to test it in campaign. But in raid mode, he doesn't have CC Mastery 2 in this outfit. He has hard hitter, so it's 200%, not 145%. Alright, so I hit the trigger 4 times, so 8 slashes with the swords to take down a standard ooze. With that hard hitter status, it obviously took less slashes, but then again, I don't know, these swords could be more powerful than those smaller blades that he has. You never know. Best way to find out would be to go to campaign and risk my life on a hunter, but I just don't have the patience and time for that. Alright, so that is it for Keith's swords, as well as all knife-type weapons. Alright, I just found out that Jill has a different sort of knife when you equip her pirate outfit. The knife is slightly different. Take a look. So, I don't know if that's going to produce different damage, but even if it does, it's not going to be that much. And I already did all the knife testing. I don't feel like doing another one right now. Just wanted to show you guys that. Alright, now for the last melee weapon. Now this is quite interesting because in the console version of Resident Evil Revelations, you get 2 DLC characters. You get Lady Hunk, and you get Rachael Ooze. So this is Rachael Ooze, and what's awesome is since she's in her ooze form, she doesn't have a knife for a melee weapon. Instead, you could use her claw attack that she normally uses when you're facing her in campaign. So, check it out. So, it's definitely the slowest attack out of all the knife attacks, but that's okay. The claw attack is probably just as powerful as Parker's axe or Keith's blades, or swords for that matter. And once again, since it's raid mode, she has CC Mastery 4, which gives her melee weapon damage 160%. But you can't use her in campaign anyway, so that is the default damage right there, pretty much. Alright, so let's test Rachel's claw on an ooze. Alright, so 5 slashes with Rachel's claw to take down a standard ooze. Level 1, when I'm level 1 as well. So that's the default amount of slashes from the claw it's going to take on a same level ooze. Higher level, it's going to take more. Lesser level, it's going to take less. Alright, that's just so hilarious though. She's clawing at her own kind since she's an ooze now. It's just weird. But anyway, it's hilarious when you use actual firearms with her, because I think since she doesn't have, like, real hands anymore, the reload speed actually decreases dramatically. When I reload a special level 50 weapon with her, I'm almost wanting to punch a wall, because it's so freaking slow. But anyway, she's a good character to use because she's the only character who could recover health naturally. She doesn't need herbs as much as everyone else, since she gains her health back. Alright, so that is it for Rachel's claw, and that is it for all melee weapons.